Get more on this with Rowaida Abdelaziz, who's a senior reporter from HuffPost, who focuses on Islamophobia, and she joins me live now from New York. Rowaida, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Good to talk to you. Does this have to be a showdown? France's position on secular education is, after all, a matter of record, isn't it?
An excellent question, and from the conversations that I've been having, people, French Muslims and experts have been telling me that it's a distraction. It's a distraction to stir up conversation, to stir up controversy, to take away from issues like inflation, the social crises that's been happening, the tensions on the ground, issues like providing food on the table for families. One scholar told me that it's become a bit of a tradition to hear about another ban that's targeting Muslims, particularly Muslim women, year after year, taking different form. And so is it a matter of record? I mean, history tells us that this is something that we've continued to see before, and they're not shocked, to be quite honest, to see this new ban possibly take place.
So I'm trying to unpick what you just said there, because you're talking about partly the political gesture, perhaps playing to a gallery, a section of French society that would be easily distracted, possibly even find some approval with a perceived tightening up of regulations in the schools. We're at the expense of the Muslim community. But at the same time, is this problematic for the Muslim community themselves in terms of their freedom to send their daughters to school wearing the abaya?
It's absolutely problematic, and problematic by every way you look at it. The United Nations has weighed in not too long ago saying it violated the human rights of these young Muslim girls and Muslim women and Muslims as a whole. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, plenty of human rights organizations within France and Europe and across the globe have all come out condemning these bans, saying that this does nothing but hurt Muslims, stigmatizes these Muslims, young Muslim women. And in this particular case, we're talking about school children. We're talking about teenagers who are there to learn an education, who are there to learn about their identity, their French identities, and yet they are being bombarded by messages from the political top government saying, we can police what you wear, and we decide whether or not it is inclusive to our identity in creating that barrier between who they are and what the government says they are.
So what would be the experience of Muslim teenagers going to school and being told they can't wear the abaya anymore, where the authorities would be saying this is an even-handed ruling, it goes for all religions, whether they're Buddhist or Christian, we don't have any religious symbols taken into our schools? But what's the experience of the Muslim teenage girls taking that message to school with them starting in September?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that question, because one cannot understate the impact that this has had on the mental health of young Muslims, men and women, but particularly those women who choose to cover, whether they're wearing the hijab, whether they're wearing the face veils, or whether they wear an abaya. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see how they implement such a policy if this indeed goes through. How can you tell the difference between what is an abaya and what is a 2,000-pound Gucci dress, an iconic, fashionable statement that happens to be long sleeves? You know, one legal scholar told me that there was concerns of profiling if you just leave it up to the school sitting there to guess what is an abaya and what's not, based off of the identity and the religious beliefs of the young girls who are wearing them. This is, again, an affront to their civil liberties. It will cause much more damage than it will be good. I mean, to be quite frank, French Muslims as a whole, they're tired. They are exhausted of having to prove their identity, to having to prove that they belong in French society. And for women, having been policed what they wear, what is tight, what is too loose, what is too short, what is too religious, all of this is a bombardment to their mental health, but also an affront to their civil liberties.
Rowaida Abdelaziz, thanks very much indeed for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.